Hello. In this video, we are going to discuss cyanohydrins. What are they and what can they do for me? Cyanohydrins have the following structure. Attached to one particular carbon, we have both an hydroxyl group and a cyano group, making it both an alcohol and a nitrile simultaneously. R1 and R2 are alkyl groups that may or may not be the same, or that may be simply a hydrogen atom. One thing to note is that if R1 and R2 are distinct, then this particular carbon atom will be a chiral center. In this particular video, we are particularly going to examine cyanohydrins, where we restrict R1 to be hydrogen, and we're going to vary the alkyl group R2. To synthesize a cyanohydrin, we first begin with an aldehyde or a ketone. So in the case of an aldehyde, R1 would be simply a hydrogen atom, and R2 would be an alkyl group. And if R1 and R2 are both alkyl groups, then we have a ketone. We also need to add to the solution of our aldehyde or ketone an acidic mixture of cyanide ion. Recall that in cyanide, the negative end of the ion is surprisingly on the carbon. Since hydrocyanic acid is a weak acid, cyanide ion is a relatively strong base and therefore a good nucleophile. And we'd expect, since we have carbon attached to the very electronegative element oxygen, that the oxygen is going to make the carbon electron deficient. So therefore susceptible to nucleophilic attack, and that is exactly what happens. As the nucleophilic cyanide adds to the carbon in the center here, we also have a flow of electrons from the carbon-oxygen double bond onto oxygen, giving a negative charge that sits on oxygen. Since this reaction contains both cyanide ion and is done in an acidic environment, we are going to have some quantity of the hydrocyanic acid present. The negatively charged oxygen is going to abstract the acidic hydrogen from the hydrogen cyanide. And the hydrogen-carbon bond will break heterolytically, leaving the negative charge on cyanide ion, thereby regenerating cyanide that was used in the first step. In result, we form our cyanohydrin, and we're left with regenerated cyanide ion. In our first specific reaction sequence, we are going to synthesize a cyanohydrin by the reaction of formaldehyde, our simplest aldehyde, with hydrogen cyanide in an acidic environment. So we're going to see what the product is first, and then we're going to exploit the fact that one of the reasons why we would want to synthesize a cyanohydrin in the first place is that cyanohydrins, being nitriles, can be hydrolyzed to form carboxylic acids. And in the case of some cyanohydrins, we can make some particularly interesting carboxylic acids. Our product is now going to be this 2-hydroxy ethane nitrile. Since it has both an alcohol functionality and a nitrile functionality, it is a cyanohydrin. But now we have other uses for this particular compound. Typically, this compound itself is not our ultimate target. We realize that we have a nitrile, and we can use either base or acid hydrolysis to first form an amide and then form a carboxylic acid. So let's see what we get in the first step when we do the first hydrolysis of the nitrile in either an acidic or basic environment. Upon hydrolysis, we are able to transform our 2-hydroxy ethane-nitrile now into 2-hydroxy-acetamide. So now we have a structure that is both an alcohol and a carboxylic acid amide. But we can go further. We can actually hydrolyze one more time in either acid or base conditions, and let's see what we get when we do that. Upon a second round of hydrolysis, we now get this compound. We're able to hydrolyze the amide to a carboxylic acid functionality, and we end up with 2-hydroxyacetic acid, which also goes by the common name of glycolic acid. So this is a material that is of biological importance, and it is a representative of an interesting class of carboxylic acids, where we have a hydroxy group attached to the carbon next to the carboxyl carbon. So we call these alpha-hydroxy carboxylic acids, which are often of incredible importance in both biology and in the cosmetics industry. Please see the following figures, which show the computed structures for the reactants and the products, and the transition states along the way for first the synthesis of the 2-hydroxyethane-nitrile, and then the further formation of the amide, and then the alpha-hydroxy carboxylic acid. In our next specific reaction, we are going to react acetaldehyde, which is an incredibly important biological molecule, another more complicated aldehyde, reacting with cyanide ion in an acidic environment to synthesize first a cyanohydrin, and then we'll see later an alpha-hydroxy carboxylic acid. As expected, our product is now going to be a cyanohydrin, specifically the 2-hydroxy propane nitrile. Next, we are going to hydrolyze this compound in either acid or base conditions. After the first step of hydrolysis, with 1 mole of water, we get the amide product. So here we have 2-hydroxy propionamide. And now we're going to continue with 1 more round of hydrolysis. Again, our product is an alpha-hydroxy carboxylic acid. Specifically, in this case, 2-hydroxy propionic acid, which is better known and is very important biologically as lactic acid. Please see the following figures showing the computed structures for the reactants, the products, various intermediates, and the reaction starting with acetaldehyde and ending up with lactic acid. Next, we react propionaldehyde with cyanide ion in an acidic environment to generate a cyanohydrin. Our product is going to be 2-hydroxy butane nitrile. Next, we're going to hydrolyze this in either acid or base conditions with 1 mole of water first. Once that step is completed, we have achieved the product of 2-hydroxy butyramide. But we are going to continue hydrolysis with 1 more mole of water. We get our desired product, 2-hydroxy butyric acid. Please see the following 3 tables, which show the computed enthalpies of reaction for the formation of the cyanohydrins, and then for the further formations of first the 2-hydroxyamide, followed by the synthesis of the 2-hydroxy carboxylic acid. Again, I thank you very, very much for your kind attention. Have a good one.